He thought his badge made him untouchable, until the courtroom doors opened and the highest-ranking officer in the room wasn't him. Picture this. It's a Saturday night in San Diego, California, just a few blocks from the harbor where the Navy ships rest under the glow of streetlights. The kind of night where the air carries the faint scent of salt water and fried food from late-night taco stands. Inside a small, family-owned restaurant called Delgado's Grill, two friends sit across from each other in a booth near the window, Marcus Ellison and Tiana Brooks. To anyone watching, they look like two ordinary people sharing dinner and a laugh. But these two are anything but ordinary. Both of them are Navy SEALs. Both of them have risked their lives overseas more times than they can count. Marcus leans back, smirking as he wipes salsa from his chin. Man, T, you always order the spiciest thing on the menu just to prove a point. Tiana shakes her head, laughing. Don't blame me because you can't handle heat. You think combat's hard but give you a habanero, and suddenly you're crying. They both laugh. The kind of laugh that only people who've been through storms together can share. But then the mood shifts. Outside the window, a patrol car slows down. The red and blue lights flash briefly before cutting off. Marcus notices it first, the way the car lingers like a shadow. He doesn't say anything at first. He just watches. A few minutes later, as they step out of the restaurant and head toward Marcus's black Ford truck parked along the curb, the sound of a car door slamming makes them both pause. Hey, you two, stop right there. The voice is sharp, commanding. They turn to see Officer Trent Malloy walking quickly toward them. He's tall, broad-shouldered, with a buzz cut, and a face that carries too much arrogance for one man. His hand is already resting on his holster. Marcus frowns. Something wrong, officer? Malloy doesn't answer the question directly. He glances at the truck, then back at them. Vehicle looks suspicious. You mind telling me whose it is? Marcus stays calm. He's dealt with authority figures his entire adult life. It's mine. Registration and insurance are in the glove box if you'd like to see. Malloy narrows his eyes. Step away from the vehicle. Both of you, hands where I can see them. Tiana crosses her arms. We just had dinner. We're not doing anything wrong. Did I stutter? Malloy snaps, pulling out his flashlight even though the street lamp above makes it unnecessary. Hands on the hood. Now Marcus and Tiana exchange a look. They've faced ambushes in the desert, missions in pitch-black waters. But here they are, back home, being treated like criminals outside a family restaurant. Marcus tries one more time. Officer, there's no need for this. I can show you my military ID. I said on the hood, Malloy interrupts, his voice echoing down the block. Before they know it, their wrists are being yanked behind them, cold steel cuffs snapping shut. The humiliation stings more than the tightness of the metal. A couple walking past stops to stare. Someone inside the restaurant peeks out the window. Tiana shakes her head, her voice steady but laced with anger. This is harassment. You don't even have a reason, Malloy smirks, leaning close as if enjoying the moment. I'll decide what's a reason. And I've got plenty. Marcus bites his tongue, choosing silence. Years of discipline keep him from saying what he wants to. But in that silence, something settles inside him. The awareness that tonight isn't about broken laws. It's about power. As they're shoved into the back of the patrol car, the city lights blur through the tinted glass. Marcus glances at Tiana, who's staring straight ahead, her jaw tight. No words pass between them, but they don't need them. Both know this is only the beginning of a fight neither of them asked for. But the fight won't stay in the street. It's headed straight into a courtroom where the truth will have to claw its way to the surface. The San Diego Central Division Station sits only a few miles away, but the ride feels longer than any deployment Marcus or Tiana ever endured. Inside the patrol car, the silence is heavy, broken only by the occasional click of Malloy's radio. Tiana leans closer to Marcus, whispering so the officer can't hear. You know he doesn't have anything on us, right? Marcus nods. Doesn't matter. He thinks he does. The cruiser pulls into the lot, and moments later they're being escorted through the double doors. The smell of stale coffee and disinfectant hits them instantly. Officers glance up from their desks as Malloy leads his arrests through the booking area. Some look confused. Others smirk, as if they've seen this sort of thing before. Malloy pushes them toward the counter where a young officer sits typing. Two suspects resisting and suspicious activity near a vehicle that doesn't look like theirs. The young officer looks up, puzzled. Suspicious activity? That's kind of vague, isn't it? Malloy glares. Do you want me to write the report or do you? Marcus finally speaks up, his voice steady but firm. We weren't resisting anything. We offered identification. I'm Lieutenant Commander Marcus Ellison, United States Navy. She's Petty Officer, First Class Tiana Brooks. We've both served overseas. You can call the Department of Defense and verify that. Right now, Malloy laughs under his breath, shaking his head. Oh, now you're war heroes? That's convenient? Tiana steps forward, her hands still cuffed behind her back. It's not convenient. It's fact. Check it. You'll look ridiculous when you realize what you're doing. Malloy leans in close to her face, voice low and taunting. You think anyone in here cares who you are? Out there, maybe you're somebody. In here, you're just two more suspects in the system. The young officer at the counter looks uncomfortable. He glances between Marcus, Tiana, and Malloy. Maybe we should run their names first before... Just process them, Malloy snaps. I'll handle the paperwork later. Marcus takes a slow breath. Officer Malloy, listen to yourself. You're arresting 2 military personnel without cause. That's not just wrong, it's unlawful. Malloy tilts his head, a mocking grin spreading across his face. You want to lecture me on the law? Save it for the judge. 2 other officers step in, guiding Marcus and Tiana toward a holding cell. The door slams behind them with a metallic clang that echoes down the hallway. Inside, the walls are bare concrete, the bench cold and hard. Tiana sits down first, shaking her head in disbelief. I've been shot at in Afghanistan, but I never thought I'd be sitting in a cell back home for eating dinner. Marcus sits beside her, resting his arms on his knees. This isn't about us. It's about him. Men like Malloy need control. And when they see people who don't fit their picture of belonging, they make up reasons to put them down. She sighs. We've dealt with worse. We'll get through this. The truth's on our side, but even as she says it, both of them know truth alone doesn't always win. Not when arrogance and corruption hold the pen that writes the report. Hours crawl by. Malloy passes the cell a couple of times, each time flashing that same smug grin, as if daring them to speak. Finally, he stops and leans against the bars. You two should get comfortable. Tomorrow morning, you'll have your chance to explain yourselves in court. Let's see how far those Navy titles get you then. Tiana stares him down, her voice calm but cutting. You should be more worried about how far your lies will get you. For a moment, Malloy's grin falters. Just for a second. But then he walks away, leaving them in silence again. But silence doesn't last forever, because soon, word of their arrest will reach someone who has the power to change everything. The holding cell is cold, but memory has its own way of warming the silence. Sitting shoulder to shoulder, Marcus and Tiana drift into the kind of conversation that soldiers often have when time stretches in front of them. Marcus leans back against the wall, staring up at the ceiling. You know what's funny? We've survived missions where half the time we didn't even know if we'd make it home. And now, here we are, locked up for grabbing tacos on a Saturday night. Tiana lets out a dry laugh. Life's got a twisted sense of humor. She pauses, her eyes softening as she looks at Marcus. Remember Fallujah? That night raid when we had to drag Wilson out under fire? You didn't think twice, you just ran back in. Marcus shrugs. He would have done the same for me. Yeah, but you didn't hesitate. That's who you are. Her tone shifts, frustration creeping in. And now this guy, this Malloy, he looks at you and doesn't see any of that. Doesn't care about what we've done. Just sees what he wants to see. The silence that follows says more than either of them can. Tiana leans forward, elbows on her knees. You know why I joined? My dad, he worked 2 jobs just to keep the lights on in Detroit. Told me if I wanted more, I had to go earn it. Navy gave me that shot. And now, to be sitting here, treated like trash, after everything I've sacrificed. She shakes her head. It burns. Marcus studies her for a moment, nodding slowly. I get it. My old man was the same way. Alabama. Hard life. He didn't have much, but he had pride. Always said, don't let anyone tell you what you can't be. That stuck with me. It's why I never let people like Malloy break me. Her lips twitch into the faintest smile. Guess our dads would have been friends. The two share a quiet laugh, but the weight of the moment still lingers. These aren't just random citizens pulled off the street. These are people who've carried the flag into places most wouldn't dare to step. They've endured deserts, storms, loss. And yet, the fight that rattles them most is the one happening here, in their own country, in their own city. The sound of footsteps breaks the silence. Malloy again. He strolls past their cell without stopping this time, a smirk tugging at his mouth as if he knows something they don't. Marcus watches him go. He thinks he's untouchable. Yeah, Tiana replies, but people like him always think that. Until the truth catches up, she looks over at Marcus, her eyes steady now. We've seen worse. We've beaten worse. And no matter what happens tomorrow, we're not letting him write our story. For the first time since the arrest, Marcus smiles, not wide, not carefree, but with the kind of quiet confidence that comes from surviving the impossible. But while they remind themselves who they really are, Malloy is across the station preparing a version of events that could bury them if no one steps in. Inside a cramped office at the station, Officer Trent Malloy sits hunched over his desk. The overhead light flickers, casting a pale glow across stacks of reports and an empty coffee cup. He types with quick, deliberate strokes, his face locked in a smug grin. Resisted arrest. Possible stolen vehicle. Disorderly conduct. He mutters each charge out loud as he writes it, like a chef seasoning a dish with extra salt he doesn't need. Another officer, Sergeant Hayes, passes by the doorway and pauses. Malloy, you sure about this? Those two didn't look like they were causing trouble. One of them even said he's Navy. Malloy doesn't look up. Everybody says something when they're caught. Doesn't matter. My report says they resisted, and that's what sticks. Hayes crosses his arms, uneasy. Yeah, but if it turns out they really are military, this could blow back hard. Finally, Malloy leans back, smirking. You think I don't know what I'm doing? Trust me, Hayes, the system's on my side. Judge won't question it. Once I put it in writing, it's their word against mine. And we both know how that goes. Hayes doesn't reply. He just shakes his head and walks away, leaving Malloy with his arrogance. Malloy finishes typing and prints the paperwork. He staples the stack with a sharp click, then leans back in his chair satisfied. To him, this isn't about law or justice. It's about control. It's about showing two people that he decides what happens in his city. Back in the holding cell, Marcus and Tiana sense the weight of what's being set up against them. You feel that? Tiana whispers. Marcus raises an eyebrow. Feel what? That smug energy floating through the air. He's in there writing a fairy tale right now, and tomorrow morning, it's going to be gospel in front of the judge. Marcus exhales slowly, leaning his head back against the wall. He doesn't realize who he's dealing with. Yeah, she says, her voice sharper now, but the judge doesn't know us either. He's going to walk in with that fake report and think we're just two troublemakers from the street. Marcus turns to her, his voice calm but steady. Then we hold the line. Like we always do. Truth's a weapon too. You just have to know when to use it. Hours later, just before dawn, Malloy stands outside the holding cell again, report in hand. He taps the bars with the folder. Sleep well, heroes. Big day ahead. Hope you've got a good speech prepared. Tiana doesn't flinch. We don't need a speech. We've got the truth. Malloy chuckles darkly. The truth? Let me tell you something about truth. It's flexible. It bends for the ones who write the reports, for the ones who testify first. By the time the court hears from you, my version will already be gospel. Marcus looks him dead in the eye. You ever heard the phrase walls fall? You can stack lies as high as you want, but one brick of truth brings it all down. For the first time, Malloy's grin fades, just for a second. Then it's back, wider than before. We'll see about that. He turns and walks away, his boots echoing down the hallway. But what Malloy doesn't know is that someone outside this station has already learned of the arrests, and that news is traveling up the chain of command faster than he can imagine. Morning light filters through tall glass windows of the San Diego County Courthouse, painting stripes of pale gold across the marble floor. The courthouse is alive with the low murmur of lawyers shuffling papers, families whispering anxiously, and the occasional bark of a bailiff keeping order. Marcus and Tiana are escorted through a side entrance, still in handcuffs, their uniforms nowhere in sight. Instead, they wear plain orange jumpsuits, a deliberate move that makes them look guilty before a word is even spoken. Tiana shakes her head as they're led inside. They really want to make a show of this. Marcus keeps his eyes forward, calm but tight-lipped. Let them. The truth doesn't need costumes. They're seated at the defense table, a public defender hurriedly flipping through Malloy's report. He's middle-aged, weary-eyed, and clearly overworked. Look, he mutters, leaning closer to them. I don't know what actually happened out there, but Officer Malloy's report is thorough. Claims you resisted, refused ID, matched a vehicle theft suspect profile. This is going to be tough. Tiana stiffens. None of that is true. I believe you, the lawyer says, his voice low. But I've seen cases like this. Judges trust cops. Their word carries weight. Unless you've got something concrete, it's your word against his. Before they can reply, the courtroom doors open again and Malloy walks in, wearing his uniform crisp and spotless, his posture tall. He carries himself like a man walking onto a stage where the crowd is already cheering. He glances at Marcus and Tiana, smirking, then adjusts his badge as if to remind everyone who holds the authority here. A couple of reporters scribble notes, clearly tipped off about the arrest of 2 suspects last night. The judge, Honorable Rebecca Sloan, enters and takes her seat. Her face is stern, carved from years of presiding over lies, half-truths, and occasional glimpses of justice. The bailiff calls the room to order, and the session begins. Malloy is the first to speak. With polished words and confident tone, he paints a picture of 2 aggressive individuals who resisted his commands and appeared to be connected to suspicious activity. He uses phrases like safety risk and non-compliant behavior, words carefully chosen to sway anyone unfamiliar with the real story. Marcus and Tiana sit silently, their jaws tight, listening to their lives twisted into a script they don't recognize. When Malloy finishes, he steps back with the swagger of someone certain the judge will nod in agreement. Judge Sloan turns her eyes toward Marcus and Tiana. Defendants, is there anything you'd like to add at this time? Marcus rises slowly, chains clinking at his wrists. His voice is calm, measured. Your Honor, everything you just heard is false. We complied with every order. We offered identification. We weren't breaking any law. We are active-duty Navy SEALs, serving this country with honor. A ripple moves through the courtroom at those words. Even the reporters look up, pens pausing in midair. Malloy chuckles, loud enough for the room to hear. And I'm the mayor of San Diego. Military IDs are the oldest trick in the book. They'll say anything to dodge responsibility. Tiana stands next, her voice sharper, cutting through the noise. We don't need to pretend, officer. Our records speak for themselves, but I guess we'll see how long your lies hold up. The judge raises a hand. Enough. I'll hear further testimony after reviewing the documents. She gestures toward Malloy. You'll provide the full report and evidence. Malloy nods, smug again. Of course, Your Honor. Everything's ready. Marcus and Tiana sit back down, their eyes locked on each other. They know the truth is on their side, but in this room, truth feels like a whisper in a storm. But storms can change direction in an instant, and the moment the doors open again, the entire courtroom will feel that shift. The judge adjusts her glasses, flipping through Malloy's report with a look that reveals nothing. The murmurs in the gallery rise and fall like waves against a dock. Marcus and Tiana sit still, but their eyes remain sharp, alert. Then, the heavy oak doors at the back of the courtroom creak open. The sound alone draws every head in the room. A tall man in full Navy dress uniform steps inside. His chest carries ribbons and medals that shimmer under the fluorescent lights. His posture is straight, his presence commanding without him having to utter a word. This is Admiral Jonathan Reeves, commander of the Naval Special Warfare Command. The gallery falls silent. Even the judge leans forward slightly, recognizing the weight of the man walking toward the front. Malloy, caught mid-smirk, stiffens. His jaw clenches. He whispers to himself, "What the hell?" Admiral Reeves stops just short of the defense table. He looks directly at Marcus and Tiana, his expression calm but resolute. Then he addresses the court, his voice deep and steady. Your Honor, my name is Admiral Jonathan Reeves. These 2 defendants are not criminals. They are my SEALs, Lieutenant Commander Marcus Ellison and Petty Officer First Class Tiana Brooks. Their service records are beyond reproach, and I am here to speak on their behalf. The courtroom buzzes instantly, reporters scribbling furiously, cameras flashing. Judge Sloan raises her gavel for silence. Admiral Reeves, I wasn't informed you would be present today, she says, her tone respectful but firm. I came as soon as I learned of this farce, Reeves replies. He places a thick folder on the defense table. In this folder are their official records, commendations, mission reports, and security clearances. These are not the actions of criminals. These are the records of Americans who have risked their lives for this country. Tiana exhales softly, relief washing over her. Marcus, though still composed, allows the faintest smile to tug at the corner of his mouth. Malloy steps forward, his voice raised. Your Honor, this is highly irregular. With all due respect, military service doesn't exempt anyone from the law. Reeves turns slowly, his gaze pinning Malloy like a hawk spotting prey. No one is asking for exemption, Officer Malloy. What I am asking for is truth. Something your report seems to lack. Gasps ripple through the gallery. Even the judge tilts her head, curiosity sharpening her eyes. Malloy scoffs, though the confidence in his voice begins to crack. He resisted. She resisted. It's all in the report. Reeves takes a step closer, his tone never rising but every word carrying weight. You claim they resisted. Yet Marcus Ellison has a reputation for de-escalating conflict overseas without firing a shot. Tiana Brooks has been awarded for bravery in situations where her calm saved entire teams. You expect me to believe that two of my best SEALs, trained to handle chaos in war zones, suddenly lost control over a traffic stop outside a restaurant? The silence that follows is deafening. Malloy's face reddens. He shifts his weight, glancing toward the judge for support, but Judge Sloan is now studying him intently, her expression unreadable. Reeves turns back to the bench. Your Honor, I will not interfere with the law, but I will not allow lies to stain the names of those who have sacrificed more than most of us will ever know. I respectfully request that these charges be scrutinized with the weight of truth and evidence, not arrogance. The judge nods slowly. Your request is noted, Admiral. Marcus and Tiana exchange a glance, silent but full of gratitude. For the first time since the arrest, they feel the ground shifting back under their feet. But the courtroom isn't finished testing Malloy's story, and soon the cracks in his confidence will split wide open. The tension in the courtroom feels thick enough to cut. Admiral Reeves remains standing near the defense table, his presence steady, while Judge Sloan flips through the folder of documents he provided. She clears her throat. Lieutenant Commander Ellison, Petty Officer Brooks, these records confirm your service, your commendations, and your standing. Impressive. Her eyes flick to Malloy. Officer Malloy, I'll need you to explain why your report contradicts the character of these individuals so drastically. Malloy swallows, straightening his posture. Your Honor, service records don't erase what happened last night. They resisted my commands. They raised their voices. They created a scene. Tiana leans forward, her voice calm but strong. That's not true. We complied. We offered ID. The judge raises a hand. You'll have your turn. For now, I want specifics. She looks back at Malloy. What evidence supports your claims? Malloy fumbles with his papers. My word. My observations. That's enough. Reeves cuts in smoothly. With respect, Your Honor, there are cameras outside Delgado's grill. I already requested the footage through Navy channels when I learned of this. It will show exactly what happened. Malloy's face drains of color. His voice stammers for the first time. Footage? That's inadmissible unless... It's admissible, Judge Sloan interrupts, her tone firm. Bailiff, contact the restaurant manager. I want that footage delivered here immediately. The courtroom buzzes again. Reporters whisper, pens scratching furiously. Malloy's hand trembles slightly as he grips his folder. Marcus leans toward him from the defense table, his voice low but sharp enough to cut through Malloy's nerves. Funny thing about the truth. It doesn't need backup. It stands on its own. Minutes later, the footage arrives. A laptop is connected to the courtroom monitor, and everyone turns toward the screen. The video plays. Marcus and Tiana walk out of Delgado's grill, relaxed, laughing. Malloy approaches aggressively, hand already on his holster. His voice is loud, sharp. Marcus offers his wallet, reaching slowly, only to be shoved against the truck. Tiana raises her hands, clearly compliant, but is cuffed roughly. No resistance, no aggression, just compliance met with force. Gasps fill the room. Judge Sloan leans back in her chair, her expression hardening. Officer Malloy, care to explain why your report contradicts this footage? Malloy's mouth opens, but no words come out. He stammers, his face red, sweat forming at his temple. The footage, it doesn't show the whole story. Angles, lighting, they were threatening. Reeves shakes his head slowly, eyes locked on Malloy. You just buried yourself. Tiana's voice slices through the silence. You humiliated us, arrested us without cause, and tried to destroy our names. All because you thought you could get away with it. Marcus adds, his voice calm but firm. You picked the wrong people to lie about. The judge's gavel slams down once. That's enough. Officer Malloy, this court takes perjury and false reporting very seriously. What I see here is a complete misuse of authority. Bailiff, escort him from the stand. He will be held pending further investigation. The gallery erupts, reporters shouting questions, people murmuring in disbelief. Malloy's face twists from defiance to panic as two bailiffs move toward him. He jerks back, his voice raised in desperation. You don't understand. I was doing my job. They look suspicious. Anyone would have thought the same. But his protests only make the scene uglier. The cuffs snap around his wrists. The same sound he'd relished the night before when locking them on Marcus and Tiana. This time, though, the smirk is gone. His confidence is shattered, replaced by fear. But while Malloy is let out, Marcus and Tiana still have one more moment to face. The resolution that comes when justice finally tilts in the right direction. The sound of Malloy's protests fades as the bailiffs drag him through the side door, leaving the courtroom charged with a strange mix of shock and relief. For the first time since their arrest, Marcus and Tiana are no longer the ones under scrutiny. Judge Sloan adjusts her glasses, tapping the folder of military records with her gavel handle. Lieutenant Commander Ellison, Petty Officer Brooks, based on the evidence, this court finds no basis for the charges brought against you. You are free to go. The words hang in the air, powerful and heavy. Marcus exhales quietly, the tightness in his chest finally breaking. Tiana closes her eyes for a moment, letting the weight lift. The judge isn't done. She turns to the reporters in the gallery. Let today serve as a reminder. The badge is a symbol of trust, not a shield for misconduct. This court will not tolerate corruption. With that, she rises and exits, leaving murmurs rippling across the room. Admiral Reeves steps closer, placing a firm hand on Marcus's shoulder, then on Tiana's. You handled yourselves with the same discipline I've seen on missions. I'm proud of you both. Tiana gives a small smile. Thank you, sir. I don't know what would have happened without you. Reeves shakes his head. You'd have been fine. The truth has a way of coming out, but sometimes it needs a push. That's why we stand together. Marcus meets his commanding officer's eyes. Still, it shouldn't take a uniform to be treated fairly. Civilians don't always get someone like you walking into court for them. Reeves pauses, his gaze steady. You're right. And that's what makes this fight bigger than one officer or one courtroom. The uniform gives you respect, but respect should belong to every citizen. The words settle heavy between them. They aren't just free. They've been given a reminder of why integrity matters beyond the battlefield. As they walk out of the courthouse, the sun hits their faces. Reporters swarm, microphones extended, cameras flashing. One reporter shouts, "How does it feel to be free after such a humiliating arrest?" Marcus stops, turning just enough to answer. His voice carries over the crowd. It feels like a win for truth, but the bigger question is how many people don't get their truth heard. That's the conversation we need to be having. Tiana steps beside him, her voice steady. No one should lose their dignity because of lies. Justice isn't about power, it's about fairness. And if today taught us anything, it's that the truth matters more than rank, more than badges, more than titles. They continue forward, Admiral Reeves walking just behind them, the three cutting through the crowd together. For Marcus and Tiana, the ordeal will never be erased, but it becomes part of their story, one that speaks louder than Malloy's lies ever could. A story that says corruption falls when confronted with courage. A story that reminds anyone watching, silence only helps the powerful. Truth, spoken with conviction, can shake even the strongest walls. And maybe that's the lesson here, for every viewer listening now. Don't wait for someone else to step in. Don't wait for a uniform or a title to make your voice matter. Stand for the truth, even when it costs you, especially when it costs you. Because integrity isn't just what you say, it's what you protect. So, if you believe justice matters, if you believe truth should always outweigh arrogance, share this story. Remind people that no lie stands forever, and that courage is contagious.